Now this here is huge. It's BMW's all-electric SUV, its first all-electric one, and it's built on a new platform that's evolved from their CLAR platform. Carbon fiber, masses of it on the shell, lots of aluminium, and this, they say, gives it a huge advantage. It will help them make their car the best driving SUV in its class. We have it only for a brief amount of time, but question is it the best driving SUV in its class? Is it a real BMW? Let's try and answer that. The iX, in fact, uses an all-new platform, an all-new propulsion system, a new battery pack, and an all-new style sheet. First impressions as I walk up to the new iX are of approaching something from the future. It doesn't quite feel like I'm walking up to a UFO, but the form, detailing and stylistic elements are fresh and clearly herald a new age. The self-healing grille does look oversized initially, and the rear looks a bit weighty at the bottom, but I like the sculpted bonnet. And don't those headlights hit the spot? For those of you wondering about the self-healing grille, it's made of a plastic that expands when heated, removing small surface scratches. Love those 22-inch wheels too, although the standard car will get 21-inch wheels. BMW's carbon core technology forms the basis of this platform, and it surrounds the passenger compartment. And you can see this when you open the doors or the hatch. The high-strength steel and recycled aluminium-rich platform also gets a compact nose, a flat floor, and no transmission tunnel. And the suspension uses lift-related dampers to aid comfort. So what's it like from behind the wheel? Now, full disclosure, we only drove it in a limited area and couldn't drive it at speed for prolonged stretches. Still, driving around this compact circuit did reveal a lot. Now, first impressions of this car are so different from anything we've experienced. This light carbon fiber chassis is stiff and it feels like it weighs almost nothing. Although there's a huge heavy battery at the bottom, the rest of it feels light on its feet, and the steering is very direct. It also is light, but it responds to your touch with no latency, no delay, and the calibration of the throttle just makes this car unique to drive. It's something very modern, very immediate, and very different. What hits me next is that the ride is very impressive. Now, the other thing about having this stiff chassis, this carbon fiber and aluminium stiff chassis, is that the ride, even on these big 22-inch wheels, is pretty amazing. It's flat, it's supple, doesn't kick you around, and although this car doesn't have air suspension, it just rides like a limo almost. When it comes to motive power, the iX uses a pair of motors, one on each axle. Combined power stands at 326 horsepower for this iX40. BMW has also calibrated the throttle like that of a regular combustion engine. So what you get is a smoother takeoff. Another area where BMW has all but nailed it is in how well this throttle is metered at low speed. It's smooth, it's predictable, and then even when you tap on the throttle, there isn't that dump of power you get in most electric cars. So it feels nice and linear and natural. And that really does help make this car easy to drive. Put your foot down and there's much more power. Now switch to sport, and the acceleration, that first hit of acceleration, yes, that's pretty good. Put your foot down and wow, yes, it does impress. Performance, however, isn't crazy or rapid, but there's just enough to keep you smiling. The iX, on the other hand, manages to sustain thrust better than other electrics, especially after the initial surge, and it continues to pull strongly well past 100 km an hour. The set figure coming up in a claimed 6.1 seconds. The iX is even entertaining to drive as speeds build. Now while this steering is very different from what we're used to on a BMW, it's light, it's very direct, and it does make the iX feel surprisingly nimble. The iX does roll due to the heavy battery pack, but since the anti-roll bars soon come into play, it always feels well in control of its weight. The iX40's 76.6 kWh battery gives it an internationally certified WLTP range of 425 km and an Indian ARAI certified range of 446 km. Expect somewhere between 350 and 370 km in the real world. The battery can be charged from 0 to 100% in 7 hours using an 11 kW AC wall box. A 0 to 80% charge can also be completed in 1 hour and 20 minutes using a 50 kW DC charger. Not only does the iX drive very differently, it also feels fresh and modern from the inside. In fact, it's so different, practically every bit is new. Now, like we've seen earlier, an extremely modern, almost show car-like interior. And the amazing bit is there's not one bit of the insides that's carried over. Well, maybe there is. I've been looking around and the only thing I can find are these stalks here. Maybe another switch down here for the boot release, but that's about it. Everything else is brand new. As you can imagine, there's a ton of new stuff here. So where do we begin? Maybe this slope dash, which is very different from what we're used to seeing. And here this leather is tanned with the use of olives. Again, something that's sustainable and good for the environment. The lounge seats and hexagonal steering wheel are very different too. Now these seats, extremely sporty with the integrated headrest, but great support here and a very different sort of profile. Different to look at, but extremely comfortable to sit in. Nice support for your thighs, good shoulder support, very nice lateral support when you drive. And of course, BMW famous for their great looking and great feeling steering wheels. And this new one is just another one yet. You do miss having paddles on the steering wheel though, especially the ones where you can adjust regeneration levels. And that's especially true since the regen settings are buried deep in the menu. Now probably my favorite bit is this wood inlay work here and this all crystal iDrive controller, the crystal gear selector, the crystal volume knob, and even a crystal start-stop button. Another favorite of mine is this curved screen, 14.9 inches with a new menu system, beautifully aligned, easy to scroll through horizontally, get to what you want. There's all your apps here all together in case you need to get to something in a hurry. And yes, although there's no climate control buttons here, you have a climate menu. Still have to take your eyes off the road to adjust fan speed, which isn't nice. What's bound to be a favorite is this massive glass roof. Now the real trick is that you press a button and it turns opaque. Hear the bong? And press it again and it's clear. Pretty cool. The Tesla type roof, however, has no blind, so it could radiate heat. As expected, there's plenty of space in the rear. So an extremely modern feel to the rear of the cabin as well. These tall seats with the integrated headrests, with this gap here, the couple of USBs, and this mount here to put a screen for the back seat if you want. Very different seat. It goes around the corner and gives you support for the side of your shoulder. But you are seated a bit low, and that's probably because of the battery that sits under the floor. There's less usable room here and BMW has to compromise. But honestly, it's not as bad as some of its rivals. The sense of roominess is only added to by the fact that there's no central tunnel here, so plenty of space here. This big sunroof brightens up the cabin, and uniquely there's some nice touches like these reading lights which you can turn around to point exactly at where you want the light. Pretty nifty. And the coolest bit, speakers in the headrest. Boot space, meanwhile, is somewhat disappointing at 500 litres. It's 160 less than Audi's e-tron, and this is due to the high floor and the presence of the rear motor and charging system above it. BMW has launched the iX in the less powerful xDrive 40 guise, but what it has done is loaded the car with features and equipment. Apart from what we've already shown you, the front seats get memory function, cooling, massage, and there's bespoke leather on the dash and on the seats. To brighten up the cabin, there's ambient lighting, you get a heads-up display, wireless charging, Android Auto, and Apple CarPlay. 4-zone climate control is also part of the pack, as is an 18-speaker Harman Kardon sound system powered by a 655-watt amplifier. Soft closed doors are standard, and you get BMW's reversing assistant. Safety features include 8 airbags, brake assist, cruise control with braking function, dynamic stability, tire pressure monitoring, blind spot detection, and auto braking. The iX also has a 5-star Euro NCAP safety rating. That the iX is a bona fide BMW, there's little doubt. It may not be as engaging to drive as some of its predecessors, and it may not be the quickest electric SUV in its class, but BMW's first all-electric SUV is still extremely agile and has a fun and playful demeanor from behind the wheel. It's also spacious and comfortable on the inside, rides beautifully, and has a funky but practical cabin. It is a bit expensive at Rs 1.16 crore, especially when compared to more powerful rivals. What BMW has done to make it competitive is load it to the gills with features, some of which are genuinely unique. Yes, we are yet to drive it extensively on public roads, and that could throw up some surprises. But if what we've seen in this preview rings true, the BMW iX is as good an all-rounder as there is in this class. One that looks, drives and feels like a genuine born electric.